Upon entering the dorm room, Yang saw Blake just finishing with the buttons going up the side of her black vest. Something atop the faunus's head leaned backwards. She hadn't covered her cat ears yet. Blake only gave Yang a glance as she smoothed out her top, and then went to put her other pair of clothes in the laundry basket near the bathroom.
Glad you're here. I thought I'd have to leave without you.
Yang shut the door and averted her gaze from Blake's head. As cute as the cat ears were, Yang knew Blake didn't like the staring.
Sorry. I needed to talk with Pyrrha and Jean for a sec. I'll hurry up.
She immediately went to their shared walk-in closet in search of the outfit she wanted to wear while following another huntsman duo around in the woods. Some cargo pants and a jacket over a tank top seemed fitting enough. She shimmied out of her uniform as fast as she could. When Yang reemerged from the walk-in, Blake was sitting on the corner of Weiss's desk, waiting for Yang. Quiet, impassive. She'd already put on a wide, dark purple band over her head, once more concealing her cat ears.
I'm almost ready. Just need,
Yang's voice trailed off as she checked the 2 drawers that belonged to her. She needed her motorbike keys. She and Blake would take an airship down to Vale, and then head out to the outskirts of town to meet with the 2 huntsmen. Normally, they'd have just taken a taxi if they were going anywhere in town, but this was different, and a taxi was inconvenient for patrols.
Did you leave your clothes lying on the floor in there again?
Maybe.
Yang was about to go pick up after herself, but then Blake stood from Weiss's desk and said,
I got it. Keep looking for whatever it is you're looking for.
Yang chuckled sheepishly.
Thanks, Blake. And I'm looking for Bumblebee's keys.
But searching through the knickknacks and junk in her drawers did not produce the keys with the bee keychain on them. She sighed, frustrated, because at this rate they'd either miss the airship or be forced to deal with a taxi anyway. And it'd be her fault for being so disorganized. She started checking her pockets before going digging in her backpack, looking in every little storage compartment she could find. Still no keys. Yang turned and was about to announce the bad news to Blake, but instead she saw Blake standing over by the door, a small black and yellow insect made of metal dangling from her fingers.
You mean these?
Oh my gods!
Yang groaned and came over to grab the keys from Blake's hand. Their fingers brushed, but they both quickly pulled away.
Where were they? How'd you find them?
You left them in your pocket from last time. They fell out when I was putting our clothes in the washer, so I brought them back here.
Blake's eyes glanced at the said holder on the wall by the door, directly next to them. The one very obvious place Yang hadn't even thought to check. Yang set her gaze back on Blake, blinking. This was the moment she'd sweep Blake into an appreciative hug, because Yang was literally useless without Blake these days, apparently. But she paused before she even leaned forward. Had it really come to this? Yang hadn't even realized how much she'd begun relying on Blake to be a functional adult. There were so many things that Yang had struggled with back home unpatched during the first several months without her right arm. The prosthetic was a gift she'd received a bit later on, but everything from doing chores to tinkering in the garage had become an incredibly frustrating, depressing, and sometimes impossible challenge as she learned to use only her left hand for the smallest tasks. And a lot of good habits she'd had slipped away because, for a while, she'd given up on trying. Her dad had still been around to pick up some of the slack, and RWBY was home sometimes too. But Yang didn't like her dad helping, and RWBY wasn't used to being the adult in the house. And, as Blake liked to gently tease her about, Yang had a little worm in her brain wiggling around, so being organized wasn't Yang's strong suit in the first place. So, yeah, she was forgetful sometimes. A lot of times. But here was Blake, keeping Yang's life from being a total disaster, little gesture by little gesture, without ever saying a word, without ever truly reproaching Yang a single one of her failures.
Man, it's hot in here.
Specifically behind her eyes. And Yang wasn't even sure if it was okay to hug Blake anymore. She swallowed hard. Her hand went up, wanting to touch Blake's arm, but Blake followed the motion with her eyes, and there was pain there. So Yang clenched her fist and brought it back down to her side.
Thank you, Blake.
She heard the roughness in her own voice.
You're really awesome.
Blake looked down.
Thanks.
The muscles in her jaw worked, and then she said more firmly,
We should go. Do you have everything you need?
Yang hesitated, hurt by how closed off Blake was being. She didn't want this. Neither of them did. That much Yang could tell. But it wasn't really fair to Blake to keep acting as if her feelings didn't long for more, as if she hadn't confessed to being in love with Yang just 4 days ago, was it?
But what if... What if I did actually let her love me? Could I love her back?
Yang took stock of her things and then huffed a sigh and nodded. Her palms were uncomfortably clammy.
Yeah, I got everything. How about you?
Blake opened the door and stood back to let Yang through first.
I do. Let's go.
Okay.